Hey everybody, welcome to Invicta FC All Access. I'm TJ DeSantis, and over my right shoulder on the left of your screen is the one and only Julie Kedzie. And Julie, we're actually here on Invicta FC All Access to talk nothing about Invicta FC. Actually, it probably will come up as Invicta FC 25 takes place on August 31st, but we are focusing on the matchup between two Invicta FC champions where the winner will walk out the UFC featherweight queen of the world. And that's a big deal. I feel like this is a really big accomplishment for the worldwide leader in women's mixed martial arts when it's not even an Invicta show.
I think it's an incredibly big deal, and I see this as an Invicta fight, TJ. I don't know if anybody else does, but I'll tell you what, Tonya Evinger versus Justino Cyborg is probably one of my all-time favorite fights that I can think of. It gives me chills. I love this fight. I love the idea of this fight. I love what's behind this fight and motivation, and I think the execution is going to be beautiful.
I really think that it's a big moment for Invicta as well as both of these athletes. How long have you and I have been screaming that Tonya Evinger deserves the opportunity to be considered one of the best bantamweights in the world? And while this is a fight at 145 pounds, clearly, win, lose, or draw, we're going to see Tonya Evinger going forward inside the world-famous octagon. In fair or unfair, that is where she's going to write her legacy in mixed martial arts. In my book, already, she is a true Hall of Famer, but with that in mind, it's very hard to lay claim to those words, Hall of Famer, without ever fighting in the UFC. And it's the pinnacle, and Tonya Evinger belongs in the pinnacle of women's mixed martial arts and mixed martial arts as a whole.
She does. And not just in, yes, obviously UFC, greatest show in the world. Like, that's the show. That's the platform where you get all of the recognition, you get all of that. But just, to me, to finally see Tonya Evinger in the public eye. She was in the public eye back in 2007, I believe. Was it 2007 or 2008 that she fought Carano?
It was late 2007, I believe. Could have been early 2008. But yeah, a decade ago, Julie, a decade ago.
She had a big platform, and now she's going after, what is to me kind of the ultimate platform for mixed martial arts. And just to see casual fans, they're going to know who she is after this. And to me, I don't know why I take that so personally. I took it very personally. This is nothing saying, oh, I want Tonya to win over Cyborg, or I want Cyborg to win over Tonya. Nothing like that. It is up to them what happens in that cage. Like, that's not what I take personally. I take it personally that these two great fighters are on the platform they should have been on for so many years. And Cyborg, she's cemented her legacy in so many ways. She can only build from there. Tonya, in my mind, as well, has cemented her legacy in women's mixed martial arts. If you don't know who she is, then you're not actually a real fan. Sorry. You're an idiot.
If you don't know who she is, you just haven't dug deep enough.
And you don't understand the history of women in the sport.
Right.
You should know who Tonya Evinger is.
And I think Tonya Evinger, as well as yourself, are vital characters to the progression of women's mixed martial arts. Gina Carano was the poster child of women's MMA a decade ago. Tonya Evinger was one of the first people to fight her in Elite XC, and that carried the momentum in mixed martial arts. And Tonya Evinger, who, if you talk to her, she's very honest about her mentality towards mixed martial arts. She's walked away, in her words, she's walked away from this sport more times than she can count. And largely, she's always stuck with it. Something has always brought her back. And while it's maybe not the best or most ideal road to the octagon, the road traveled by Tonya Evinger, it's almost the road necessary for her to take, because I think she's learned so much about herself over the last decade. You talk to her about her fight with Gina Carano, and she talks about how she felt that she was really mistreated by Elite XC and leading up to that fight. And she said that she was forced to warm up outside of the arena, outside of the venue. And when she got in there, when the going got tough, she just got going. She left. She checked out. And, no offense to Gina Carano, who, again, has a significant place in women's mixed martial arts history, I think even she would tell you that odds are she wouldn't tap out Tonya Evinger if Tonya was 100% firing on all cylinders, because Tonya Evinger is an incredibly hard fighter to beat. She's even harder to stop when she's mentally ready. And that's one thing I think a lot of people overlook when it comes to Tonya Evinger. Yes, she's verbose. Yes, she's vocal. She's a huge personality, but she is at world class. And I mean that. That word gets thrown out a lot in mixed martial arts. She is a world class athlete. She's one of the best wrestlers in mixed martial arts and one of the best wrestlers in women's wrestling. I mean, we're talking about someone who really should have been an Olympian in 2004.
Yes, she should have been an Olympian. It was a weight class deal that kind of excluded her from it, No, I sort of agree with everything you're saying. I would say there was a whole bunch of threads there that I was going to go off on all that. But I think at the end of the day, for people to understand the history of women's mixed martial arts, they need to understand Tonya Evinger. And I hate to bring up what's kind of a cliche story, but if we look at the story of Tonya Evinger, we are actually looking at the quintessential story of an American fighter, of almost, you think about the Rocky, saga, the idea of Rocky won, first Rocky.
Right.
First of all, the guy who had been fighting forever, nobody paid him any recognition, everybody kind of dogged him, didn't treat him well, and he gets up and he finally gets that platform, he finally gets that stage. Now, Tonya got that stage with Invicta. Tonya cemented her legacy with Invicta, in my opinion, and showed that she's one of the best in the world. But when it comes down to it, the Invicta platform can only pay her or take her to such an audience. I mean, it is available all over the world for people to stream it, but not everybody gets into that. Not everybody does that. Not everybody tunes in to a Tonya Evinger title fight in Invicta to the level that they turned into a John Jones comeback fight in the UFC. Now she gets that opportunity. Now people get to see who the fuck Tonya Evinger is. They already know who the fuck Cyborg is, so they know what the stakes are. Sorry for my language.
Well, I mean, you're putting it the exact way I think Tonya Evinger would put it, which is very fitting. And, Tonya, for better or for worse, is a brash, in-your-face personality, and I just have a hard time believing that Tonya won't represent herself, whether it's in this fight or later in the UFC. I have a hard time believing that she won't represent herself in a way that fans don't gravitate towards. I mean, look at the stars in mixed martial arts, the Nick Diaz's of the world, the Nate Diaz's of the world, Conor McGregor's. Tonya Evinger, while different, is still very much cut from that same cloth, and those type of fighters make money in mixed martial arts right now.
Well, and I think the reason that people gravitate to those type of fighters is it's not a false persona. She's authentic.
Yeah.
There's nothing fake about Tonya Evinger. I mean, she can be polite, she can be kind when she's feeling like it, but she'll never be fake. And to meet people like that and truly appreciate the level of authenticity in a fighter like Tonya, it's just incredible. Like, win, lose, or draw, Tonya's going to be Tonya. And I don't know, it's nice to rely on somebody to be that way. She said many things I've disagreed with. Cyborg has said many things I've disagreed with. Many people have said many. It doesn't matter what I or not agree with. I gravitate towards that level of authenticity where this is not somebody trying to say something to make you feel good. This is somebody who's just going to say exactly what's out there. And I think that is something people appreciate. And I think people are really going to appreciate who this woman is.
Certainly. I think you're 100% accurate in everything that you've said. And now I know that a lot of people are watching or listening to this going, oh, it's great that you guys are saying nice things about Tonya Evinger. She's going to go fight the best women's featherweight of all time, and she's going to get smashed. I also don't believe that. Is an Evinger victory unlikely? Yeah, she's an underdog. So at its very core, Tonya Evinger walking out the women's featherweight champion is unlikely. Is there a path to victory for Tonya Evinger? 100%. And in my opinion, Julie, that path is more clear for Tonya Evinger than any of the last 4 or 5 opponents that Cris Cyborg has faced.
I tend to agree with you. I think Tonya Evinger is going to be a step in competition for Cris Cyborg, a step up in competition. Now, we have the size factor to contend with, but I think that Tonya had a tough cut to 35. Yeah. I also think it's her natural weight class. So I'm going to put that out there right there. Cris Cyborg does have a size advantage on her. Hey. She probably will have a bit of a strength advantage on her, but man, I'm going to tell you from personal experience, and this is from a decade ago.
Right.
When Tonya Evinger gets her hands on you and she's in the right frame of mind, she wrecks you. Her grip is incredible. Her strength, she's so wiry, she's so strong. And that was from a decade ago, and I was not a Cris Cyborg. I was not a world-class fighter. I'm not saying that to put myself down. I'm saying giving you out there for perspective who are listening or watching this, but I am saying that Tonya is world class, and in a decade, she could only have gotten better, especially given her last rattling off of victories. People can bring up the Yana Kunitskaya armbar that happened, and I think that's a really valid thing to appreciate, to look into, and to see. But that was overturned. So technically, Tonya Evinger hasn't lost in a damn long time. And it's Cris Cyborg, who, again, none of this talking Tonya up is a slight on Cyborg.
No.
I don't honestly care if I offend either one of them. I will be honest with both of them to their faces when I think about things. I don't care about offending people that much. But I also do want to put it out there that I think Cris Cyborg is one of the finest fighters in all of mixed martial arts, one of the most underappreciated fighters in all of mixed martial arts. And it's wonderful to see her shine right now and take that, get her chance at an actual UFC belt. Now, that being said, this is some tough competition. This is some competition that we really, I feel like it's homegrown almost.
Yeah,
Even fighting long before she came to Invicta, I feel like I feel like it's homegrown competition, having seen her evolve.
You and I were on the ground in Kansas City less than 2 weeks ago, and we were talking, and the conversation just naturally gravitated towards the super fight, because this is really a super fight. This is a fight that I thought eventually may have been inevitable if both of these athletes had stayed in Invicta, because it's a super fight. If there was a video game, you run and make this fight happen in the video game because you're just so curious in what could happen. And now we're actually getting to see it. And you mentioned some of the technical aspects of, Tonya's going to be the smaller fighter. But, I mean, when has Tonya fought, if ever, where she didn't have to cut, a good amount of weight? And while maybe she wasn't, really, really hurting that bad, a weight cut taxes a fighter no matter how much the cut is. If Tonya is walking in close to her natural weight or cutting just a couple of pounds, who knows what that means to her abilities inside the cage. I mean, maybe that makes it so her double legs are more powerful. Maybe it makes it that her cardio is stronger. And I really think that there are a lot of X factors in this fight for Tonya Evinger, which is why I see that path to victory a clearer one than, say, the fighters that Cyborg has fought in her last 5 or 6 bouts. And the biggest thing is we have yet to see Cris Cyborg be put on her back for prolonged periods of time. And you can ask anybody. I mean, better than anybody. Being on the bottom of Tonya Evinger is not a fun place to be. And I don't care if you're the greatest featherweight of all time. It's not a place you can afford to be for too long. No,
she's a mean, nasty fighter on the ground. She does the tricks, not even tricks, because tricks minimalizes it.
Right.
She does the things that a experienced veteran wrestler knows to do on the ground with their weight, with grinding something, in the body this way and moving an elbow this way. So it puts the person pinned underneath them in maximal discomfort. I really think that if we see, I think there's some pretty good percentage we'll see Cris Cyborg on her back in this fight. I think that there's a good chance that Tanya's going to get a takedown on this. Now, that being said, with Cris Cyborg, we see somebody who is in Tanya's face, and a lot of Tanya's opponents have maybe not actually made it to a comfortable clinching range. I think Cris Cyborg will feel comfortable in the clinch with Tonya. In her mind, she's been in that position before. She's been in high-level fights like that before. But she's also never been in Tonya Evinger's clinch in that kind of range. And so that's something to think about. She, when I think about Cris Cyborg, it's funny because, we see victory, 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 victory. But almost my favorite fight of hers was her kickboxing fight when she lost to, and I always say it wrong, it's Jorina Barsh.
Correct.
Barsh,
yeah.
Barsh.
Hey,
However
A for effort, Kedzie.
Sorry, I'm mispronouncing it. But that was one of my favorite all-time fights of Cris Cyborg because we saw her tested. Mm-hmm. She couldn't wrestle in that fight. She couldn't do some of the MMA moves that she could do, but she put herself in a situation where she was going to be tested.
Right.
Now I see Tonya Evinger almost like stepping kind of into that Cris Cyborg, challenging a person in a different, I don't even want to say league because they're both in the same MMA sphere, in my opinion. They're both fine champions of their weight class. But neither one of them is a UFC champion yet.
Yet being the key word.
Both of them are voluntarily abdicated Invicta champions.
Right.
So, to me, both in their championship, this is I guess I just want to say it's an incredible fight. And I really appreciate this fight. I thank the MMA gods for this one. I'm slobbering over this fight.
It's interesting because I think that the poster children of women's mixed martial arts has changed over and over and over again. And we never got the Ronda Rousey Cris Cyborg fight that a lot of us wanted. And then a lot of people were interested in Holly Holm versus Cris Cyborg. And who knows, maybe we get that before their careers are over. But in a sneaky way, this is the super fight that I never knew I really, really, really wanted. And now it's right here. And I really, really want it. I'm so happy it's happening less than a week away. And there are so many things that I'm curious what it's going to look like. And I'm sorry, I really think, Julie, that the odds makers have it wrong. Obviously, I don't know what the fight is going to close at. Right now, I look today, you're looking at Evinger being a 5 to 5.5 to 6 to 1 underdog. And the over-under is even more insulting to someone of Tonya Evinger's level. The odds makers have it 2-1 odds that this fight goes over 7.5 minutes. They don't think it's going to go a round and a half. Now, I'm not saying you should go bet your money. That's not what I do. I don't like to gamble, but I think that if Tonya Evinger is firing on all cylinders, Julie, it's hard to say that you can't see her going past a round and a half. I know that not many people have been able to do it with Cyborg as of late, but if anybody was going to do it, it's Tonya Evinger.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, if I were to call this fight prediction-wise, it's either going to be a first-round stoppage or it's going to be a fourth-round stoppage. First round, nod to Cris Cyborg. Fourth round, nod to Tonya Evinger. That's how I see it.
And I like that you say that because a lot of people are thinking that, once the power is put on Evinger, that Cyborg will take over. That's very possible. It's very possible. Cris Cyborg hits unlike anyone else in mixed martial arts, and I truly mean that, pound for pound, gender for gender. But when you look at Tonya Evinger, she has gone through a lot of adversity in life, in and outside of the cage. If she can weather that storm and she gets on top, look out, because I think the receipt to a Cyborg flurry met with Evinger's top game of punishment, I mean, all of a sudden, can she last through this storm? Can she weather the storm? That shoe is on a completely different fighter's foot.
It really is. And I'm not saying I don't actually believe that. I don't think that Chris's gas tank will run out. I don't think it will run out in this fight. I just don't think it will. I think she has gotten her conditioning to a level, she's gotten her experience level up there that she's not going to make that first round flurry and just gas herself out all over. I think she's matured beyond that. However, that being said, I don't think she's been put on her back in training for sure. You have to train for every position. I don't think she's been put on her back in a fight, like you said, in a very long time. And if Tonya can do that, you kind of wonder what sort of advantage, if that happens repeatedly, what sort of advantage, how that stacks up mentally.
I think what's interesting here, a couple things that you said. One, Cyborg, I don't think her gas tank is going to run out on her. Especially from a first-round flurry. But what I do mean by the receipt of Tonya Evinger maybe capitalizing on Cyborg getting over-aggressive and maybe not finishing her early is if Evinger can play her game and play her game for more than a round at a time, it doesn't matter how good your gas tank is. Being on the bottom of a fighter that can control their weight and feel like 800 pounds, and then on top of that, they're elbowing you in your face. I don't care if you're a marathon runner, that will take it out of you. And in this fight, especially if Cyborg doesn't have the success that she's had in the clinch with other fighters, if for whatever reason Tonya Evinger can, get over-unders or double-unders against the cage and fight similar to, say, like a Randy Couture, that dirty boxing type of game, that can wear Cris down as well. And it's not a detriment to her cardio. It's a detriment of being forced inside a very dirty clinch that you have to wear the weight of your opponent. And on top of it, they're kneeing you, they're punching you, they're elbowing you on the floor. These are all things that if Cyborg can weather, sure, she's going to be fine. But these things have broken a lot of opponents from Tonya Evinger.
They have. And I want to go to something, I don't know if this is psychological or what, but when we talk about being worn down or being, I guess, getting tired or whatever it is, kind of that mentality and fighting through that, we're talking about Tonya Evinger here, who has puked from exhaustion in almost every single fight. Not every single fight, but in multiple fights that we've seen of hers. I don't think every fight she's thrown up. Sorry.
It's all right. Invicta FC All Access needs an appearance from Bailey.
Yeah, and then my roommate's coming in too.
No worries.
She's barking.
Again, this is the All Access that everybody wants.
Welcome to my house. Let me show you a tour of my bedroom filled with dirty underwear. It's fun. No, sorry guys, that was the titillating part. You're good. No, but okay, let me go back to gas tanks and everything. So we have seen Tonya fight after puking in between rounds, puking after fights, being exhausted, just absolutely, and just come forward and keep grinding forward. And that is the Tonya Evinger that I absolutely love the most. The one who has given so much in the cage that she's vomited out everything she's eaten. Why I love that is the same reason I love my favorite fight of Cris Cyborg's is the Jorina Bears fight, or Bears, however you want to say it, because she got dropped multiple times and she kept coming forward. This is how we know both of these fighters, in their weakest moments, have more heart than you can think of, that will keep moving forward. In the moments where Tonya, who can grind people out, who can wrestle all day long, when she hit a point of exhaustion, she kept moving forward. Cyborg, who knocks people out in flurries, furious, huge punches, gets dropped by that same sort of thing, gets up, keeps moving forward. That getting up and keep moving forward thing, that is the story of a fighter. That is the real story of a fighter. And that is the story of both of these women in their careers. Like, not even metaphorically. Both of them have been dropped from the radar of people, or dropped in the mentality of people, the psychology of people. They're not, and they kept going.
Right.
This is why Tonya Evinger, she's my Rocky story. Out of all of them, Tonya Evinger is my Rocky story. I think they should give her $1 gazillion for this fight. I'm like, double her paycheck right now, guys. The things that she's been through and the history she's brought to this sport. Cris Cyborg, same thing. I actually don't really watch their fight purses, but I hope she's getting $1 gazillion on this too. I hope they're both getting pay-per-view points. They deserve it. Of anybody in the sport, it's the women who were eclipsed by the maybe more marketable fighters.
Sure.
That just kept moving forward, just kept going, did not quit. When the rest of us fell short, when the rest of us found something better to do with our time, or we went back to school or got movie deals or whatever it is, these are the fighters. I'm not going to say women. I'm not going to say girls. I'm not going to say female. But these are the fighters who kept going, and this is their chance to shine. And this is why everybody should be watching this fight.
And this is what is so great about fight sport, in my opinion. It doesn't, yes, marketability has a lot to do with how successful and what sort of legacy you write in mixed martial arts. But with that said, we still have to focus on the fact that this is a sport. And no matter how much, a marketing machine would like to deny somebody for whatever reason, maybe they just don't have the look, maybe their personality doesn't lend itself to great tweets or the best interviews in the world. The bottom line is winning overcomes everything. And for Cris Cyborg, no one's been able to beat her except the first person she ever fought when she was horribly injured. And Tonya Evinger has lost her fair share of fights. But with that said, every single defeat on Tonya's ledger has made her not only a better fighter, but I think a better person. She's been able to get through everything that has been, hard for her, whether it be, inside the cage or outside of the cage. And just the fact that she's going to make the walk on Saturday night in Anaheim, it gives me chills thinking about it, Julie, because I can't think of someone more deserving than Tonya Evinger to make that walk to the octagon. And, what she does with it is going to be completely on her. If she can beat Cris Cyborg, it's going to be one of the bigger upsets in mixed martial arts in the last few years, and she's going to walk out a UFC champion. If she loses, which, again, the odds makers say is most likely, Tonya Evinger is still going to rebuild, come back, and look out 135-pound division, because you may not like her, you may not know who she is, you may not even care about her, but I promise you, if you get in the cage with Tonya Evinger, you're going to have to respect her, because she truly is one of the best. I think top 5 bantamweights in the world.
I'm going to take umbrage with one thing you say, or I'm going to actually challenge one thing you said.
Sure.
In that, very actually lengthy and very good response.
Sorry.
And I'm just going to say this. No, that's good. I just didn't want to interrupt you. I have that habit of doing that. You said at the end of the day, it's a sport. And like, it's entertainment, it's a sport. I'm going to say no. At the end of the day, this is a fight. And we don't see, how do I put this? Well, I'm not very PC as it is.
Sure. It's all access. Give it to me, Julie.
A lot of fucking fighters in the cage all the time. We see a lot of really good athletes.
Sure.
Both of these females, well, I sound like a weirdo. Both of these fighters, these female fighters, both of these women are actual fighters in their hearts. That's what I mean, but when I'm calling attention to this loss or this vomiting incident, this, that, and the other thing, they are fighters. At the end of the day, this is a fight. This is who comes out and continues to fight every second of this 25-minute span. And this is an actual fighter's fight. This is.
I agree with that. But
getting back up, because I think it's when they were at their weakest moments when I loved them the most. Because that's when I saw that they were actually fighters. And that's my favorite thing, is the fighter.
Yeah, no, I mean, no doubt about it. I think the reason I call it a sport, though, is because, again, you can't deny results. And both of these women, I mean, I don't think that they were on the radar of Dana White or the UFC at all to be a co-headliner. I mean, there's 3 title fights on this card. To me,
or what? Oh my God!
It's the biggest UFC of the year, hands down. And honestly, too, I think this is one thing that everyone's going to walk away with, and I truly believe it. If Tonya Evinger represents herself in the manner that she can, and Cris Cyborg continues to be Cris Cyborg, don't be surprised if this fight, the fight that was the short notice fight for Tonya Evinger, don't be surprised if this steals fight of the night.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean,
I would put money on that. This is going to be fight of the night.
And it's on a stacked card. I mean, it's the return of John Jones. Tyron Woodley continues his run, defending his welterweight title against Demian Maia in a very, very intriguing style matchup. But again, if Cyborg has the moments we've seen her be capable of, and Tonya Evinger does the exact same thing, I mean, this is going to be a fight where if it doesn't go the distance, you're going to be rewinding and watching it over and over again because it's going to be entertaining. This is going to be a fight that, I mean, to me, it is really a breakout moment for honestly both fighters, because if Cyborg gets it done, she finally realizes the biggest prize in the sport, which would be a UFC championship. But for Tonya Evinger has less than 8,000 Twitter followers right now, Julie. She is the most underappreciated fighter, I think.
Stop what you're doing right now and follow her.
Seriously. I mean, I'm sorry. I should
not have more Twitter followers than
That's
Tonya.
what I'm saying. Like, I'm a schlub who can't grow hair and is too pasty to go outside and come to an Invicta with a tan. And Tonya Evinger's working a construction job and beating everybody put in her way and says the love it or hate it, some of the craziest stuff. And she's not a household name. I think that changes on Saturday night. I hope it changes on Saturday night. And if it doesn't change on Saturday night, Julie, again, I think that the fact that she's in the UFC's bantamweight division going forward, if she comes out of this, the loser, she's not going to be a loser. I really don't believe that. And I think that she can contend with anybody at 135.
Oh, absolutely. This is a win-win situation for Tonya.
Yeah.
Because she wins that belt, then she's won the UFC belt against the most feared fighter of all time.
Right.
She doesn't win that belt, then she returns to her own natural weight class and fights for the belt there.
Like, yeah, I mean, you think she doesn't want to get her hands on some of the people that she's already beaten outside of Invicta or outside of the UFC that are there? I mean, this is what's so great about Tonya Evinger, and I don't want this to be so rah-rah Evinger, but you and I have been able to watch her grow so much over the last few years that, she has a chip on her shoulder, but she's also accepted who she is, what she is. And honestly, if things don't work out and she doesn't, reach the UFC title fight at 135, I still think she's going to be okay with that. But don't get that mistaken with this woman is here to prove a point. And win, lose, or draw, if you find yourself in the octagon standing across from Tonya Evinger, she's coming at you with guns ablaze, and no one's been able to beat her in an incredibly long time. I mean, you got to go back to 2011. Sarah McMahon was the last person to beat Tonya Evinger. And, I mean, Sarah's, again, she's up there as one of the greatest to ever play the game in women's mixed martial arts, a silver medalist in wrestling. Tonya Evinger is, in her mid-30s, a force to be reckoned with. And I'm excited to see if she can make good on what, she's been able to do at Invicta and what I think most educated mixed martial arts fans believe she can do. And that's, rip off top 5, top 10 wins on a semi-regular basis.
I love it. I love that the world gets to see her. And I also love that the world gets to see Cyborg pushed a little.
Can I please, can I give somebody a favor or monetary compensation? I don't know why. Maybe it's selfish. Maybe this is the homegrown aspect of things that you're talking about. But these women, I want them to walk to the cage with their Invicta belts. I wish they could.
I wish they could, too. I don't think the UFC would allow them because I actually don't know what the UFC.
But it sets the stage, though.
Or something. I don't know that. At least a photo shoot, please.
Right. I mean,
please, both champions, bring your Invicta belts, put them up at the press conference, wear them at your weigh-in, something like. Oh, it'd be so great.
Just for me, Julie, it sends the message to the viewer that maybe doesn't know who Tonya Evinger is, or maybe they don't respect her enough. This truly is a champion versus champion fight, and
this is a super fight. This is amazing.
It is, it doesn't get any better. I cannot wait. I have chills. I literally have chills thinking about it. And it's on the best UFC card of the year, 214 this Saturday night, Anaheim, California. It's at the Honda Center. If you're in the area, otherwise you better watch it on pay-per-view. I cannot wait. Julie, we're going to be back in action too, not too long down the road. Invicta FC 25. It's the silver anniversary. I've got a sweet silver tie ready to go.
Oh gosh, I need to find something silver to wear.
You'll figure it out. I mean, maybe you can consult Laura Sanko, who always has like she's got bling with her outfits. Always, she's got some sort of great.
Like she could be making gazillions of dollars as a model if she wanted to. She's got that thing where she knows how to just get it right.
Yeah. I mean, you're handing out gazillions of dollars to everybody you love. You have yet to say TJ DeSantis deserves gazillions of dollars, but
DeSantis deserves gazillions of dollars.
Thank you.
Best play-by-play guy in the universe.
Oh, that's very sweet of you to say, and also a lie. So thank you for it. Julie, we're back in action August 31st, but we should do this more often. I love talking to you and talking about fights, even if they're not necessarily Invicta fights. I mean, we're both fight fans.
Once a week coming up to this next show.
I love it. Let's do it. So, all right, I'll probably be texting you furiously during this fight going, oh, my God, I can't believe that just happened. And be prepared because this is a fight where win, lose, or draw for either athlete. I think everybody's going to remember this one. It's going to be great. For Julie Kedzie, go ahead. Yes, please.
Follow Tonya Evinger.
You have to do it, people. You have to. Just please tell everybody. Sign up with fake Twitter accounts and follow her because she needs it. All right. I'll talk to you soon, Julie. Thanks for the chat.
All right. Thanks, TJ.
This has been All Access. We'll see you next time.